Ubisoft didn't make it out of the weekend all that well. Well, to be completely fair, they're not completely at all-time lows. I mean, over Monday morning, they were trading a little bit worse, but $11.32 a euro, not great. Down 17% in the past 5 days, down just about 33% in the last month. 40 in the past 6 months, and yeah, year to date down over 50%. Things aren't good, but they are looking up because there's another big AAA release on the horizon for Ubisoft, and well, they're downgrading their stocks because their most recent release in Star Wars Outlaws is going to underperform their already reduced expectations. Oh boy! A new report reveals the multiple financial analysts have downgraded Ubisoft stock, with a number of them citing Star Wars Outlaws and predicting the game will underperform expectations. Yeah, because I haven't heard anything in regards to sales numbers, and normally, a game that's been out for the better part of a month, actually at this point in time, 2 or 3 weeks removed. Depending on when the video gets released, it could be as much as a month. But we haven't heard anybody saying we're trying to spin this as, the best performing Star Wars game released in 2024, or at least the best performing Star Wars game released in August of 2024. Ubisoft hasn't said word one about this. It's kind of crazy. Bloomberg reports that investment firm BNP Paribas downgraded the stock to neutral on Wednesday. The firm's analyst, Nicholas Langlet, who is described by Bloomberg as a bull of Ubisoft Entertainment, downgraded the stock, citing a crowded release schedule and increased competition, including Grand Theft Auto 6. Oh, this guy's an idiot. Oh, okay. According to the report, Langlet cut his price target of the stock by more than half to $14.50, a new low among analysts tracked by Bloomberg. Yeah, but bro, right now it's trading just about 3 euros short of that, so okay. On top of Langlet downgrading the stock, Cantor Fitzgerald also downgraded the stock and saying that yes, Outlaws reviews and predicting the game will underperform expectations. And yeah, I've watched not all, but a lion's share of Mahler play through the game, and yeah, it's really bad. It's really, really, really bad. And if this is the best that Ubisoft has to offer, it makes me wonder just how bad Assassin's Creed is going to be. Because there wasn't even that much of a campaign to try to say that, it's just the bigots and it's just the hateful, toxic Star Wars fans that are out there that are just wishing for this game to fail. We haven't seen that much of a push on that front. It's almost like Ubisoft knows that, yeah, it's going to be bad. Because we've seen a fair amount of attacks, and we've seen a lot of attempts to try to reframe the narrative around Assassin's Creed Shadows, and none of it has worked. Okay, it's gotten so bad. Okay, to just simply distill it down to one headline, the Japanese government has gotten involved in how bad things have gotten for this game. Okay, they've stolen assets. They've reused animations from years gone by. They've created a historical precedent, been exposed for stealing other people's history, repurposing it, and then blaming everybody else for exposing it and saying that they're racist. It's like, you're not going to win this time around. Like, Assassin's Creed already had a bad enough reputation, bad enough where they had to go back and reboot the franchise and spin it off from being a yearly, and hell, it got to a point where they were releasing multiple Assassin's Creed games throughout the year. Like, they somehow came back from that and then started to do all of their flumpy rewriting of history with, recontextualizing how important shield maidens were during the times of Vikings with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And then this right here was just a bridge too far. Finally, we're going to Feudal Japan and we're using a black samurai who is just simply a black novelty for Nobunaga. And it's alright, we can do it because he was a samurai because Thomas Lockley said so. Like, what are we doing here? You're a company that desperately needs a win, but yet you've somehow continued to take more L's than the Hobbit's high jump team. Like, what are we doing? We've paid a lot of attention to stay as respectful as possible to Japanese culture, but creative choices are made on our side in regards to the art directors clapping back at Japanese criticisms. Yeah, we know that we're trying to tell a Japanese story, and yeah, it's going to be as respectful and faithful to the lore that we tried to tell you guys, okay? We're going to be respecting Japanese history. You remember that apology we put out a couple of months back? Don't aim for historical accuracy, and what is this, the second Ubisoft affiliated person saying that, yeah, we're trying to make something historically accurate? Oopsie daisy. In response to numerous complaints that have been leveled towards the game's handling of Japanese culture, Assassin's Creed Shadows art director Thierry Danseru has attempted to assure critics that he and his fellow developers are attempting to stay as respectful as possible to Japanese culture. Press X the doubt. From its incorrect application of Chinese architecture and modeling Japanese buildings, use of the modern-day reenactment group's custom banner. Yeah, it's a rifle group's banner during Feudal Japan, during the 1500s. Make that one make sense. Yeah, and without the group's permission, no less, and they said that they'd get rid of all references, only to be, actually we still got them in there, so sucks to suck. Shadows has constantly stumbled in attempting to digitally recreate the land of the rising sun as it appeared during its years under the control of famous Oda Nobunaga. And unsurprisingly, this haphazard treatment of Japanese history and culture has led to both the game, its development team facing massive criticism over their creative intentions from not just Western players, but also Japanese citizens and politicians. Exactly. And now, after about a month of radio silence on the topic, the aforementioned Danseru has offered a more personal, on-the-ground take on the situation. Pressed for his thoughts, a criticism of the game's creative liberties by Eurogamer's editor-in-chief Tom Phillips, during a recent 2024 Gamescom trade show, Danseru bluntly affirmed, "Of course, we are making creative choices. It's a video game in the end, and we want to make the best experience as possible for our players. We've worked with a lot of experts to just understand well the time period. We did a lot of work. We are making sure to we depict this world in a respectful way. We are fulfilling the game's needs and making it entertaining. We've worked with Osaka and Tokyo studios, who've acted as consultants. One of their art directors is involved with doing research in the field. Now, we went there, we did field trip, and we have Japanese experts living in Japan. We used a lot of them for looks and assets and played the game and provide feedback." And they said it's shit, and we were like, well, we're going to ship it anyways. Don't worry about it. Shit sounds like ship, so we're going to do that. We paid a lot of attention to stay as respectful as possible to Japanese culture. Just don't mind the Chinese architecture. My face exactly, Yasuke. That's the first time I agree with his inclusion in this game, just because of that blank expression. And with one final inquiry into the effect of the social media backlash to Shadows has had on its development team, the director clarified its personal question. It's up to everyone to see. And what is everybody seeing? Ubisoft trying to tug at the coattails of the New York Times to fight back against those angry racists criticizing our black Japanese samurai game. French video game developer Ubisoft ran to the New York Times in order to attack its own players in an attempt to salvage its upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows game. Oh, they know it's gonna suck, and now they're just gonna go the way of Rings of Power. That worked out famously for them for Season 1. Worked out incredibly well for the Obi-Wan and Acolyte shows over there under the Lucasfilm banner. Why wouldn't it work for a video game this time around? Just go ahead and say, everybody who hates this game is a racist. So then you can run the headline in a couple of months' time, why didn't the racist buy the video game? In a play straight out of Prime Video's playbook for The Lord of the Rings of Power, Ubisoft leveraged Zachary Small and the New York Times, as well as a so-called expert to attack players ahead of the release of Shadows. But yeah, just in case you forgot, Vanity Fair writers Anthony, and Joanna Robinson, whatever, attacked Tolkien fans rather, saying that, so what? He said the dwarf women were supposed to have beards. Shut up, you're racist. The what? Galadriel was never supposed to be like this big, ostentatious girl boss. Tolkien wrote that she was athletic, you sexist. And just because Tolkien didn't say that there wasn't a black elf, it doesn't mean that there wasn't one. Shut up. And he also didn't say that Numenorians didn't have moob armor. But moving along to Ubisoft, has done something similar with the New York Times, and Small, like the Vanity Fair piece. Small wrote, some gamers erupted over his appearance, talking about Yasuke, convinced that the franchise, known for its immersive recreations of the past, had gone woke by including a black character in its depiction of the 16th century Japan. He then claims that developers received personal attacks and death threats during an online harassment campaign. Well, we've only seen one harassment campaign, and it's not from the fans. Fans are just laughing at this this stuff. Fans of both, video games and historical culture. There's no Ubisoft fans left. They've driven them off years ago. The harassment campaign, yeah, it's coming from Ubisoft, claiming that everybody else who doesn't like the game is a bigot, so go ahead and get your facts straight. But then again, that's also tough because we know that you guys have a difficult time getting facts straight, or really anything else, because Yasuke is gay! To no surprise, he shares no evidence of such attacks or threats. Yeah, provide receipts or it didn't happen. After attacking gamers, Small then weaves a false narrative that has already been refuted for months by citing historian Yu Hirayama, who is an admitted communist. Oh my god. Yeah, there are very few historical documents about him, but there was no doubt he was a samurai who served Nobunaga. I mean, yeah, there are very few documents, and yeah, it is confirmed that he was a retainer. That's about it. He was paraded around by Nobunaga because the Japanese people at that point in time haven't seen anybody with black skin like that. He was a novelty. However, it is highly disputed that he was a samurai, as historian Yushi Goza, who is a faculty member at the International Research Center for Japanese Studios, focusing on Japanese medieval history, and the author of What is a Samurai, speculated that Yasuke was simply Oda Nobunaga's bodyguard and entertainer rather than a samurai. Yeah, we know that. We've seen that at all. Not only did Small cite a communist, okay, but like Vanity Fair with Maldonado, he cited Kazuma Hashimoto, who he describes as a Japanese consultant and translator in the video game industry. Oh, okay, cool. Who went and got a real authority on these types of situations right here. Somebody who leverages outrage and, yeah, one of the most unreliable groups in the entire industry in translators. Hashimoto told Small it was the people in the West who were upset with seeing Yasuke as a samurai. I mean, the biggest outrage and the biggest backlash is actually coming from Japan, okay? Yeah, this is patently false and makes absolutely no sense given Small even admits that Ubisoft apologized to Japanese players. Small wrote, after the online blowback, the game's development team attempted to assuage concerns of the game's authenticity, apologizing in a lengthy statement for promotional materials that said it had bothered some Japanese audiences. So, is there anything at this point in time that is authentic about this game? Is there anything that hasn't been disputed? Like, we've seen some gameplay, we've heard some of the soundtrack that has since been muted in another trailer that's been released. Funny, I don't know if they're going back and reworking any of the hip-hop stylings that were festooned across the first couple of trailers, but nothing's going to go ahead and detract from the imagery of a large black man cracking open the skulls of Japanese people. And no, I'm not referencing a San Francisco news story, but also just how out of date all of this stuff looks. And no, I'm not just talking about how this wouldn't make sense in a modern context. It's just how dried up the Ubisoft formula is, from Star Wars Outlaws to X Defiant to Skull and Bones to every one of their releases falling flat on their face in recent years. Ubisoft is racing BioWare at this point in time into bankruptcy and being acquired. But when you continue to release crap like this, who even wants to acquire you at this point? Best of luck with Shadows, because you are definitely gonna need it. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.